Hi everybody, welcome to another tutorial on frames. In this video I'm going to go through all the controls that you have in the control panel or control layer or screen. So let's load a preset or a patch. So let's choose something I used before. I think it's on the letter P, like Picking Funk. Okay, and let's listen to it. I set the offset to 0 and the size to max, and let's click play. Let's move the range up. Density 0, just to listen to what the sample sounds like. Perfect. So let's start. First of all, you have a button which stands for active, so on and off is very clear. If it is off, no sound is produced on that layer. Can be useful if you want to turn off some layers when you have a mixed set of layers playing for your patch. Similar for the solo. If you have multiple layers playing, you want to sometimes hear only that layer, so you click solo and you solo that particular layer. Next, we have the selection of the engine. At the moment it's set on granular, but you also have the possibility to set it as oscillator. And if you do so, you have two additional controls. The waveform here, which in this case is, you can select between sine, so square, and if you have square, you can also adjust the pulse width as well, and triangle. Of course, it goes without saying that if you set it to, if you have a square and you have pulse width, then you can use modulation to modulate the pulse width. Anyway, let's go back to the granular engine here and let's continue the exploration of the controls. You have a selection for pan here. Very straightforward. So if you hope you have headphones or headset, because then you can hear the pan moving from the left to the right channels. Next, you have a button called key. At the moment, as you press on the keyboard, the pitch changes. If you set it to free, clicking on the key button, the pitch is unaffected as you move through the keyboard range. Okay, back to key. Next, you have a dial for level, just your level output for the layer. So the higher it goes, the more volume you have, the lower, less volume. Remember, double clicking on a dial will go back to the default setting. Next, we have our cutoff. And we have also our resonance. Okay. We have also the mode for the filter. So low 24 pass, 12 pass, you have the band 2 pass, you have the high pass, and you have notch, etc. So you can select the one that you need. You also have what is called the shortcut. This is for the envelope generator number 2, which you find under the envelope section. You can change it here in terms of ADSR, and we'll look at that in another tutorial. But effectively, this will influence the cutoff, so it will impact. It will create an envelope on the cutoff. So and here you, depending on the waveform that you have selected here, in terms of attack, decay, sustain, and release, it will impact the filter, how the filter is applied. Okay, for now let's change that. But if you want to hear that how that impacts better the cutoff, just wait for the envelope tutorial where I will show you that. But if not, just play around with the controls here, and that will give you, for example, a better idea how that affect the cutoff. Okay, we have also a control for the course, which can, at the moment, is quantized, but it can also be set to 3. And if it is quantized, of course, you can see quantization here on top on numbers. This is useful because when you are on free mode and you cannot change the pitch through the keyboard, you can use the course dial. Okay, next we went through already the controls for the waveform and also the pulse width if you are in the oscillator mode. Now let's go through this set of controls, starting from the left top and then coming down. So here we have a window control, and this is used very much to remove a little bit the edginess on the size of the window, which is established through the offset and size dials. So as you know, with the dial you can move the offset up and down. Let's change the size first of all, otherwise you can't see that. So you can move it, you can move this range, which is defined by the offset, which is the start here, and the size, which is here, and you can change those through these two controls. So if you are playing, for example, this part here, in which you can set changing the offset starting from there, and let's say that we want the size to finish there, so we change the size like that. If I click play now on a C4, I will adjust the window. You will hear how that smooth effectively the edginess. And to the point that when the window is almost square, you hear some ticks as well, and it is more evident when you have more grains. Okay, so we explain how the offset works. You can move your selection on the sample wherever you like, and you can adjust the size as well. Next we have a density dial, and this is where you establish the number of grains which are playing. So what do I mean by that? Every time you click on, you press a key, a grain is fired, and when that grain goes over that particular area that you selected, it plays that particular area of the sample. You can select how many grains are actually fired within that particular range between the offset here and the size, start and end of that region. So have a look. I can increase the intensity, and I will increase the number of grains which are fired. Very interesting. This is why it's called a granular synth, so you can establish a number of grains which are fired, and there is a mode which we'll look at that in a moment as well. You can adjust the tuning as well for the grains. The main advantage of using the tuning versus the course dial is that the tuning can be randomized, and also it can be modulated when the course cannot. Next we have an amplitude spread, And this can be sometimes difficult to hear, but effectively randomize the amplitude, spread the amplitude around. So set it to maximum and hear what it sounds like. You should be able to hear that the amplitude is going up and down in randomized fashion, so spread. Okay, we have our gain. And we have also delay effect, and be careful as you use delay with grains. If you have multiple grains and then you have a delay as well, the sounds can get very complicated. You can hear better the delay when you have only one grain. Okay, then next let's have a look at this option here. At the moment here it says it's set as a loop, so if I press a key on the keyboard it will continue to loop, of course on that region that is selected. If I click on it I can have a ping pong, so we'll go forward and backward. Very interesting effect. And I can select it to go to the end, so we'll play only once. And then the grain will stop here at the end. Let's reset it to loop. Next I can set the direction forward or backward. So when it's backward you see it starts from the right and goes back to the left. We can change the size to be relative to numbers, or relative to the size of the sample, or also absolute. If it is absolute, of course you have a smaller range to play with. So I normally leave it to absolute, but you can also set it as a sync. And this can be quite interesting in terms of your playing as per bit per minute. So I normally leave it as a relative, like so. And here you have a button also where you can set the mode in which the grains are fired. The moment they're set to even, so they will split evenly the space between the offset and the size in this window. But you can also set it to timed, which means that instead of being spaced around with the die, you set the fire rate. So though they are not any more evenly spread, so this will adjust the fire rate. You can also set it to sync. Of course, to your bits per minute. Okay, I'll leave them I'll leave the setting to even. Next we have a randomized color, and this is used to effectively affect how the randomized dials here will impact the different settings. So it's almost like a character or an additional parameter for the randomized function. So for example, here we have a randomized dial for the offset. Here we have a randomized dial for the size, the same here for the density, the same here for the tune. And so for example, let's say, and I have also one for the stereo, which will spread the stereo between left and right, so it will spread that around that pan effect. So let's start with this one actually, because this one shows you better how the randomized color dial works. Hopefully you heard that when I increased or changed the dial and the randomized color, the impact on the spread of the stereo between left and right channel has been amplified. Okay, so be careful how you use this randomized color, because it will affect all the randomized settings. So we can randomize the offset. You will start to see grain starting after the size or before the offset. okay, depending on the randomization. The same on the size, I can randomize that as well, so it will change the width of this area that is played by the grains. Let's change that to the offset to 0 so you have a better idea. Okay, and you can do the same on the density, which you can create very, very interesting, unique sounds and texture. Again, you can affect using the randomized color. Okay, perfect. So hopefully you heard that the density was randomized. And of course we can also randomize the tune of the grains, of course. And again, give it more color with the randomized color dial. So we went through already the stereo spread dial, and lastly I want to show you that you have also a reverb effect alongside the delay effect. So let's play around a little bit. Let's have a little bit of random on the offset. Also on the density. A little bit less character on the randomization. More random on the density. Let's make this a little bit smoother. Let's remove the tuning randomization, but add some stereo spread. And also some amplitude spread as well. So as you can see, very straightforward to use the settings on the control panel, and this is where the beauty of the granular synth comes alive, right? Because you can use grains to create very, very unique sounds and effects. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye.